Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Rad Rice. Today I have a very special car to review. We're going to be doing a review on this 1998 Arctic Silver Metallic Porsche 911 993 Carrera S, also nicknamed C2S. This is a very low mileage example, only about 13,000 miles on it. And today we're going to be doing a full review on it. We're going to give you an overview of the car, history of the car. We're going to be talking about the engine, brakes, wheels, and towards the end we're also going to be taking it for a little drive and show you what the experience of owning this car is. If you're new to this channel, this is not the first Porsche that we're doing a review on. We've also done a review on a Porsche 992 Cabriolet, and hopefully in the future we're going to be doing a review on another special Porsche. That's a Porsche 991 Carrera 4S. That's a all-wheel drive, whereas this one is a rear-wheel drive. If you're new to this channel, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. That's one of the ways to get our channel growing, and I truly hope you enjoyed this episode about this very low mileage and highly desirable example of a Porsche right behind me. Alright guys, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this 1998 Porsche 911 Carrera S, but before doing so, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of Porsche and making this 993 generation of 911. Porsche started making the 993 generation of 911 back in 1995. This is after the G-Body and then the 964, and then it was this one. Now, unfortunately, when Porsche was making this 993, Porsche was going through a lot of financial problems in the mid-90s, so they had to do a lot of cost-cutting measures. Porsche had to do a few things. First of all, the style of this car, when it came out in 1990s, a lot of people thought that it was kind of dated. Another thing that Porsche had to do in order to overcome its financial woes is to make a high-performance version of a Mercedes-Benz. It's called the Mercedes-Benz 500E or E500. And then also they collaborated with Audi to make a high-performance version of the Audi RS2. That's the name of that Audi. However, fast forward, a lot of people actually desire this Porsche a lot more than the newer Porsches that came after the 996, 991, and other generation of Porsche. Why is that? It's because it's the last generation of Porsche that is truly analog, and you don't have a lot of computers trying to assist you or overpowering you in different departments when you're driving this Porsche. So it's a truly enjoyable car. Another thing that is really interesting about this Porsche is that the size of this Porsche 993. It's the same size as the Porsche 964 and the Porsche 911, the G-Body. Unfortunately, the Porsches that came after it, the 996, the 997, and so forth, they became bigger. Yes, they became a lot more luxurious inside, a lot of better features. The quality of the interior was better, but there was something nostalgic about this Porsche that the newer Porsches can never have and will probably never have. And that's why this Porsche has been appreciating in its value amongst the Porsche enthusiasts, and it's very interesting how the 993's value has increased over the years. The 993 generation of Porsche 911 is extremely desirable because it's the last generation that is air-cooled, and as I mentioned, it is analog, so you have a car that is true to its original DNA, and it doesn't have a lot of these computers to nanny you around. So a lot of people like this car, and the price of these 993s have been increasing by leaps and bounds. And this particular version of it, which is a 911 Carrera S, is on the last year that the Porsche made. It is a rear-wheel drive. It weighs about 100 pounds less than the all-wheel drive version of it, the C4S. This is nicknamed C2S. So, but yet it has that nice wide body of a turbo, a 911 turbo. So this particular 911 Carrera S is extremely desirable, and I'm very lucky to have given a chance to do a review of it by a good friend of mine, and I will definitely cherish every second that I have to spend with this car. Okay guys, now let's talk about one of the most important things about this Porsche 993 Carrera S. It's the engine of this car. This Carrera S comes with a 3.6 liter flat six. It makes about 282 horsepower and 250 pound-feet of torque. It's made it into the ground via the 6-speed manual transmission, and it does a 0-60 in about 5.2 seconds. And the top speed of this car, if I'm not mistaken, is around 165 miles per hour. Now those numbers are not very impressive by nowadays standard, but at the time in 1998, this car was actually considered a fast car. Now what's interesting about this 993 Carrera S, it's equipped with the Ram. It's a Porsche patented induction system, and it gives you flatter curve at low to mid-range, and it has about 15% more power than its predecessors. And this car tips the scale as 3,064 pounds, which is actually very light compared to a lot of sports cars that we see nowadays. Moving on, talking about the wheels and brakes on this 993 Carrera S, this car comes with 18-inch turbo twist hollow spoke wheels. The tires are Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s. In the front, they're 225 40s. In the rear, they're 285 30s. And the braking system on this car, there's 6-piston calipers in the front. The rotor size is 12 inches. In the rear, there are 4-piston calipers, and the rotor size is 11 inches in diameter. Now, one thing to note about the suspension of this car is actually been lowered slightly by H&R springs, both in the front and in the rear. And I'm gonna just take a guess, it's about probably 0.75 inches in the front and about the same in the rear as well. Okay, guys, now let's talk a little bit about the styling of this car. Absolutely gorgeous. I really like how the lines of this car comes. It's remained true to the original G-body and 964 Porsches, the predecessors. I love how they had the bug eye, got the little headlight washer, and the nose. I like how the snout is nice and rounded. It's kind of has some of that modern feature to it. And coming to the bottom right here, you got a few ducts. I know the side ducts probably take some of this cold air to cool down the brakes of this car. Going to the side of this car, it's absolutely gorgeous how the profile of this car is. You got the nice flared fenders in the front, but on the rear, they're even wider and more beautiful. Another thing I really like about this car is the small windshield, and I like how these wipers kind of stack up on top of each other. That's really nice. And obviously this is where you got your gas cap to fill up the tank of this car, and you got the turbo twist 18-inch wheels. Going to the side, love the profile of this mirror that you see, and obviously the roof line with this little sunroof. And I really love this wide quarter panel. It's just absolutely amazing. Coming to the back of this car, one of the things that you definitely notice about this car that is different than the regular Carrera S's is this factory wing. This is part of what we call as the aero kit that the previous owner of this car installed on this car. It's very nice. I think it's actually elegant wing. It is functional, and the regular Carrera S's have these double grills. They're split grills. Basically, they're heat extractors. That's one of their signature marks. And right here, obviously, you have the Carrera S logo. And I absolutely love these taillights and how this little centerpiece comes and kind of connects the taillights together with the word Porsche here. And one of the other things that the previous owner had adjusted or modified on this car is the exhaust. These are Fab Speed exhaust, and it makes the sound of this Porsche even better. Take a listen. Alright guys, moving on and talking about the trunk space on this car. This car actually has something called a front trunk or frunk. It actually has a decent amount of space that you can put your suitcase. It obviously doesn't have as much as a sedan or whatnot, but for a sports car, it has decent amount of space. You can put some golf clubs in here or a small suitcase. So Porsche did a great job to incorporate some space in this car. Moving on and talking about the interior of this car, the name of this interior color is called Classic Gray Partial Leather, and it is actually doesn't have that much contrast between the exterior and interior, but it is a very simple color code that the previous owner had spec'd out on this Porsche. I really love how everything in this interior is simple, doesn't have too many computers, and this is one of the greatest attractions of this Porsche to a lot of Porsche enthusiasts. For instance, let's start with the doors. The doors are very simple. This is your door handle. Really like this little small speaker that you have here, or tweeter, and then the speaker here. These are the buttons for your windows. Really love this power mirrors, the side view mirrors. This is how you do the right side, left side, and then this is how you adjust them. Coming to the seats, obviously these are power seats. They're 8-way power seats. And I like how you have this little access way to the rear, just like that other Porsche that we did the review on. Porsches actually can technically seat 4 people, but obviously you need a very, very small person to be able to sit in here. Really like this simple floor mats. There's nothing to them. Obviously you have your 3 pedals, gas, brake, and clutch. And I love this dashboard that you see on this car. Very nice and traditional, like any other Porsches of the previous years. Couple of things to mention. You obviously have your lighter, you have your fog lights, you have the button for the window defroster, and then obviously you have the Porsche original factory stereo system. But what confused me is this climate control, because it's in centigrade, but this car was imported and it was made for American market. So I don't know why they couldn't change this to Fahrenheit. Obviously different levels. And then you come to the gauges on this car. You have your clock, you have your speedometer, you have your tachometer, you have the oil level, the oil temperature, and not sure exactly what this is, but obviously you have your fuel gauge. Turn signals, this is the ignition, obviously just like any other Porsche. It's on the left side of the steering wheel. Couple of things you have is the power locks, the hazards, then this is for the wing of the car, and then this is for the sunroof. And I really love this shifter. It's a 6-speed manual transmission. Love this handbrake with a Porsche stamped on it, and it's very nice and simple. Again, everything about this car is very simple. Sun visors, nice and cute little sun visors that you have. And this car has probably one of the smallest sunroofs that I've seen. See how small it is? That's how much you get. And then that's how you close it. And this is how you open the glove box on this car. You kind of turn that knob, and it has 2 settings. It has a small one, and then you can pull it down more. Porsche didn't forget about putting an ashtray in this car, because you definitely need an ashtray as well if you have a lighter. All right guys, now we're driving this 993 Carrera S, and it's been absolute one of my all-time dream cars to drive. Why? It's old school. I've always liked older cars, like especially in the late 80s and all the way through the 90s, and it's a manual transmission car. Now, I've had a manual transmission Toyota Corolla, I've had Volkswagen GTIs. I'm actually in line to get a 6-speed manual transmission BMW M3 in an individual speed yellow, but all of those, you cannot get all the perfection of a Porsche. They're not a Porsche. They're not air-cooled like this bad boy is. They're not like analog like this thing is. Yes, some of them are analog, but they didn't have the power delivery of this car, or the rarity, the exclusivity of this car. And it's just an absolute blast to drive. I'm so honored to be able to drive one of these Carrera S's, and with this low mileage. Now, I'm not going to be taking this car, you know, and driving it hard, because it's one of my friend's cars, and so it's not my own car, so I have to be responsible towards this car. The car is responsive. The transmission is very nice. Going in a little bit of a corner, it's definitely can handle, although it is a 25-year-old car. It's great. It's great. Absolutely, it's a blast to drive. Obviously, it doesn't have the pickup as some of the newer cars do, but who cares? This car is a vintage Porsche. It's something, this car is what they call as the last Porsche that you could get some of the modern amenities, yet it had the characteristics of a vintage Porsche, and it didn't become porky and fat like some of the newer 911s are, and bigger. You know, some of the newest 911 is as big as a size of a Ford Mustang, but this thing, when you look at it, especially that roof line that I told you that carries from the G body of it is based on the basic 1970s Porsche. Obviously, it's got a lot of things that have changed, but it's just it's a great car, and it's great to be able to drive it. We have a rare sunny day in Columbus, Ohio. The reason I say that is they get a lot of rain or snow, especially in late to early April, but today was just a very nice cooperative day. and I got a chance to obviously drive one of my all-time dream cars and to share my experience with you guys. We're doing only about 40 miles an hour. I'm going to give this car a little bit of gas, guys. It can definitely go. It can definitely go, especially once you're past that 3,000 RPM. But as I said, this is basically a collector's car, so we don't want to stress out the engine too much. I can't wait to get my manual transmission BMW M3, and I also have an order for a GR Corolla. Those are all both 6 speeds, but they have so much modern tech and amenities added to them that it's not going to be old school like this, and it's never will be having the profile or, you know, that premier or status of a Porsche. Looking at the mirror, looking at my rear view mirrors, and then you see that spoiler, and this car is so small but yet so nice, and it's got a nice wide stance to it, so it's absolutely blast. Besides the springs, that exhaust, and the aero kit, which is actually, that aero kit is factory, everything is original on this car. A lot of the owners of these cars, they actually change out the steering wheel. They put a 996 steering wheel that is 3-spoke, but the owner of this car, current and previous owners, they just kept it original.